This episode is sponsored by
Playing with KidVid, an online connection for kids' videos and gaming.
Hi, I'm Christina, the creator and founder of Zimoff Entertainment. Welcome to another episode of Health, Wealth, and Happiness. If you're looking for any of the three, we're here to help you find it too. Chin chin. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Health, Wealth, and Happiness. I'm Christina. Our next guest comes from Leeds. She's a psychotherapist and a spiritual life coach. She offers up daily inspirational words on her social media. She loves to bake, and she comes to us with a bit of sass. Let's welcome our next guest, Jan.
Hello.
Welcome, Jan. Tell us a little bit more about what you do on the daily.
Okay, so I still work in the National Health Service in England as well. So if you don't know what that is, it's a free at the point of contact, they call it, health service over here. So I work 2.5 days still in the NHS, but I'm also a psychotherapist and life coach. I work specifically, or my favourite thing to do is to work with women who are perimenopausal, who are finding that they're a bit lost. They've kind of lost themselves. They worry so much. They can't sleep very well. They might be feeling sort of really out of sorts with themselves. Don't know, they've forgotten who they are. They don't want to go out. They don't want to see their friends. So I help them find themselves again and get back to doing all those things and find that amazing, powerful, sassy, wonderful woman that's hiding inside.
So, Jan, your health word is balance. Tell us more about that.
I think balance for me is about not doing things in polar opposites, because I've realised since I've been perimenopausal that all my life there's been something not quite right. I've not quite fitted with anybody. I was told I was disruptive at school, and that I was a disruptive influence. I wasn't allowed to stay on in the sixth form because apparently I was too disruptive. And I've realised fairly recently, looking at the mass of information about ADHD everywhere, and also the fact that I've got 2 children who are neurodiverse as well, and looking more into it, I've realised that it's highly likely that I've got ADHD, and I can be quite polar. So I can be all or nothing, really, with my health, and finding that balance has actually been quite helpful. So that's why my word is balance, actually, just stopping with the polar stuff, stopping with the either sitting in a corner and vegetating or going at it hell for leather, and just finding a kind of happy medium, really, has been really just fantastically helpful, particularly for my mental health. Because, even though I'm a psychotherapist, we're not immune. We're not immune from getting sort of mental health dips, and just finding that balance has just been really helpful with that, having that kind of middle ground instead of the black and white.
When did you kind of discover that in yourself, that you I need to look into this a little bit more?
Only in the last couple of years. So I've got a daughter who we've been taken backwards and forwards to CAMS, which is the mental health service for children and adolescents in the UK. And we thought that she was possibly autistic. We've got an autistic son, and we thought that there was possibly that with her. It isn't. She's dyslexic, but also she started to say when she got into her 20s, I think I've got ADHD. And when I started to look into it for her, it started to make sense of who I am and what was going on for me so much when I was younger. And the fact that I have been diagnosed with depression and anxiety several times throughout my life, that kind of makes sense as well, because of, a lot of women particularly, because we don't have that kind of boys. I think boys tend to get diagnosed more with neurodiversity or neurodivergence because everything's out there. It's all out there. It's big, it's loud, it's unmissable. Whereas us as girls, we don't do that. We're different about the way we interact with other people, and we watch people. So we're much more watchful of how other people interact with each other. And our relationships are totally different. So the dynamic is different. So it was when I started to look for her. So it's only been probably in the last 2 or 3 years, really. So yeah, and I've got to almost 59 without even thinking about it. And despite the fact that, I've been a mental health nurse for 34 years, qualified 34 years ago, it didn't really occur to me until she started to think about it. But actually, it's made me feel better about myself since I started to think, well, actually, do you know what? That really explains a lot about me and my own journey.
That's interesting too, because now you have an opportunity, like you said, to go back and examine, oh, my childhood, it was like this, and that now all makes sense. I could see what you just said, you feel better about yourself going, oh, it's the big question that's now been answered for me.
Yeah.
What kind of things have you done since you've found this out for yourself and kind of finding your health balance and initiatives that you've taken for you?
Well, the biggest thing really is acknowledging the fact that it's not just that I'm completely cracked, or that there's something wrong with me. Because I don't, I don't believe that any neurodivergence is that it's something wrong with somebody. It's just a difference, and it's been good to be able to accept that and work with it rather than against it. So instead of fighting the fact that my attention span is about the length of a goldfish, I can plan for that. So I can give myself 10 minutes instead of an hour to do something, and then go off and have a break and come back. And that works. So it's finding those things that's actually really helped me find that balance. And it's made me more productive, I think.
So have you noticed now that you can break your days up in more of that kind of, so you said you feel more productive in general?
Yeah. I mean, it was never, it sounds ridiculous, but it was never a problem in client sessions. I could always kind of concentrate for that 50 minutes. But what I did realize, and I realized this probably quite a long time ago, that once I'd had that 50-minute session with a client, I would have to go and do something else. And I used to have games on my phone, so I literally used to play Angry Birds or Candy Crush or something for 10 minutes after I'd finished a client session before I could do my notes, because there was so much going on in my mind. And it didn't occur to me. But now being able to sort of put the two and two together and think, actually, that's probably what it was. It's given me it's almost given me permission to just do things in much smaller chunks. And that's okay, because actually you can get an awful lot done in 10 minutes. You get an awful lot more done than you think you can in 10 minutes. And then having that kind of time away to stretch or to dance to something that I like, music that I like, or even just to go and let the dog out in the garden for 5 minutes and just watch the birds flying around and then come back. And I'm not one of those people that does that and then loses the track. I can actually pick the thread up quite quickly again after that. And I found that that's been just really helpful.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, one of my pieces of advice that I give others is, if you want to start something, take 10 minutes to do it, whatever it is, because we have this whole 24 hours to do something. And if this thing keeps ticking at your brain and going, I need to start exercising, I need to eat better, we'll take that 10 minutes and go get that exercise. Like you said, dance. Yeah. A lot of the ladies I've interviewed, that is one of their things. I'm a ballroom dancer. So, turning that music on just feels great, even just for that minute to just be free.
Yeah. See, I am absolutely, I have a real girl crush on Shakira. So her music's fabulous, and I'm doing salsaing around the kitchen to Shakira quite regularly.
We should video that.
Do you know what? I should use that as a reel, shouldn't I?
Yes.
The other thing that I do is I make up I really like country music, because my music taste is massive. So it's so diverse. I'm sure people when we used to have CDs before we streamed everything, I'm sure people would look at my CD collection and think, But I love country music as well, and I make up little line dances for myself around the kitchen as well. Maybe I should video that too.
I love it. I love it. When you work with people, do you work with them on their balance as well?
Yes. So yeah. Obviously I've got all my mental health background, so I can help them find lots of different ways to manage. And I'm not one of those sort of therapists who I'm a psychodynamic psychotherapist. But I'm also a mental health nurse. So I've got lots of kind of diverse things that I can bring together. And I work very much with the actual person, what they bring. So if they want to work on their balance, if that's what they think that they need, then yes, that's exactly what we'll do. Help them find that balance. And balance means different things to different people. And that's what I love really about what I do.
And you got your degree a little bit later as an adult.
Yeah, I actually graduated when I was about 5 months pregnant with my 15-year-old. So I was 43 when I graduated. And then it was after that I did my psychotherapy training, because that was the psychotherapy training was master's level. So obviously I couldn't do that until I'd done my degree. So yeah, my bachelor's degree was from sort of late 30s to 43. And then I think I finished when did I qualify? I qualified in 2017 as a psychotherapist. So I was in my 50s by then.
How was the experience doing it as an adult versus, a lot of people will go right from school to school to school to school. What advantages did you sense? Because I'm sure life experience is definitely
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think any of us who were there was two or three of us who were sort of late 40s, 50s when we did our psychotherapy training, but the degree itself was great. It was a modular degree, so I could choose modules from everywhere. As long as it was within the healthcare campus. It was great because I had examples, because I was working, and I'm still working in the service that I'm in now. I had examples to bring, so writing the assignments was much easier because I could actually use people and situations that were actually happening. So it made it much easier for me to do that, because I don't think I could have done it in abstract if I'd just come out of university and I'd never worked. So I don't think I'd have been able to do it, to be honest. I wouldn't have had it in me, I don't think.
What advice do you have for someone who's going to go back to school as an adult?
Protect your time, I think, is the biggest one for me. Almost compartmentalize it. I can get that word out. Make sure that you have time for specific things and have time for your schoolwork, but also have time to spend with your family, because I think otherwise things become resentful if you don't, between all of you. Definitely protect your time to be able to study as well, and to be able to look after yourself so you don't burn out.
And is there any advice that you have for someone looking for balance in their life?
I think the biggest thing to do is to look at what you're doing. So maybe do like a reverse diary. So when you're actually doing things, write them down, what you've done, and then you can kind of look back and think, hang on a minute, I'm doing an awful lot of this and not a lot of this. And I think that helps to bring that kind of balance back, because we do an awful lot for other people without even thinking about it, and then forget about ourselves quite regularly. And actually, if you forget about yourself, you can't help other people properly anyway. Yeah. And we don't realise we're doing it, I don't think, some of us, particularly women. I don't think we just don't realise that that's what we're doing. So if you write a reverse diary, you can see, you can't deny it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Often that's another one of those examples that I've used is it's like a car, your engine, your gas tank. If you're not taking care of the car, it's going to stop.
Exactly.
So we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So we can get to where we're going.
Yeah. That's really interesting to use that, because I always say that about when I'm talking about hormones, that the hormones in our body are a bit like the engine of a car, that if all the bits are not working at the same time together, things just go awry slightly, and then one thing stops and then that has a knock-on effect to the next thing. It's
Okay.
obviously a good analogy.
Yes. So Jan's next word for wealth is abundance. Tell us about what abundance means for you.
Yeah. So abundance for me is having been able to look and think that I've got enough of everything. I'm full basically. Um, and I know that you use the word wealth, but I don't think necessarily of wealth as being just money. I think that, we're wealthy in lots of different ways. You said earlier that I live in Leeds, and I do, but we're right on the kind of edge of Leeds. So we're really lucky in that we live right next door to an urban trail. So it's full of woodland, and I can go out into nature and watch it change. I can watch the wildlife. We've got owls, we've got bats, there's foxes, there's badgers, I believe, as well, and otters, but I've never seen them. But we see deer regularly, so and that feels like abundance to me. I feel as if I'm kind of wealthy just in that respect. And then we've got 4 children. So although 4 children can drain your bank account, there's a lot of wealth in other respects, a lot of abundance in that kind of respect. I'm that mum who likes to have a full house and loves. My 3 eldest children don't live with us anymore, but it's great when they come home, and that feels like an abundance to me as well. That real kind of it's kind of a feeling of fuzziness, almost like I feel really full now. Shattered when they go, but but do you know what I mean? It kind of almost feels full up, if that makes sense.
Like you're Snow White walking through your forest on your path.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When do you think that in that life, you're talking about all your children and all of the nature being able to find that abundance in them? When do you think in your life you could stand back and go, I feel full. I feel full with what I have?
I think that's probably quite a recent thing as well, actually, being able to look back, because I can remember probably in my 30s, I just didn't feel great the whole time. It almost, when I think about back to that, it almost felt like I was in a fog for almost a decade in my 30s. And quite possibly, no, not my early 40s, but definitely my 30s felt quite foggy. And that felt almost like I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything to give. I didn't have anything. And I can remember crying a lot. But I think when we moved here, again, that didn't feel quite. We live in my parents-in-law's house, old house. So we live in the house that my husband grew up in. And we've started to change it. And now it feels like mine. So that feels kind of, and I think when we started to change the house, and we got a dog, and I started to walk on the trails and walk around the woods. And also when I started to do what I do now, I think, so started to see my own clients and work in a way that suits me and suits the people that I work with more. So yeah, I think it's fairly recent, and possibly even doing the research on the ADHD as well,
Yeah.
realizing that actually there isn't anything wrong with me. It's just that my brain works in a different way.
I saw an interesting documentary. It's called 100 People. And they had 100 people of all different ages. And it's interesting that you're talking about, in your 30s, because it goes from the 20s, they say, oh, everybody's so happy. And it goes down and it goes down and it goes down. And then somewhere, I think it's around 50, it drops to the bottom, and then it slowly starts to go up. And then by the time people hit their 60s again at retirement, for some people, it's like back to happiness again. But that's one of the things that's like, what am I looking for? What am I looking for? And it
Yeah.
often is some type of the filling that wealth hole, whether it's money, abundance, family, but still in this search. And I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm searching for. And then finally, oh, stop that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if it's a bit like, because they say that, don't they, about doing a degree, so a 3-year degree, that first year's great and you're excited and everything's wonderful being there, and then the second year people have real problems. And then third year, I guess people are like, oh, I'm nearly finished. I can get out there and do something with this. Maybe there's some similarity. There must be some psychology behind that, I guess.
What are your aspirations and goals for your children when it comes to them finding their own abundance?
Well, actually, the three older ones are doing pretty well with that themselves. I can't, I can't put my hand on my heart and say that they've got massively abundant bank accounts or anything, but they're all happy. They've all found their own way, and I think that creates a massive abundance. Yeah, I can't say any more about that really, because I think when I look at them, they're happy with their partners, they're content with where they live. None of them live it. Well, actually, my youngest lives in quite a, I suppose it's quite bohemian, but quite a wealthy area. She lives in a tiny little cupboard in quite a wealthy area, but she's doing what she loves, and that's what I want for them. Really, it's something that they're doing, something that they enjoy, and my older son, is a martial arts. Well, is he a national champion? He's a national champion at the moment. So he's doing what he loves and teaching what he loves, and I think that for me that's abundance, really, being able to hold that.
Sound like a proud mom.
Yeah, yeah.
And for your clients, because I know that's a little different when they're looking for their own aspirations and goals to their abundance, to their self. How do you help them find their pathways?
For me, with my clients, I think it's probably helping them find what they want first. Because a lot of people come to see me and don't really know who they are and why they're feeling the way that they do, and how to get out of it. And I guess that helps people to feel full inside, knowing who they are and knowing a little bit more about remembering who they are. It's not about knowing who they are because they already know. It's just finding it again inside them and helping somebody unlock that. I had an example. It was a client that I've been seeing in the NHS. I can only do 16 sessions, and he said to me, it was our last session yesterday, and just that kind of sitting with him, being quite emotional and saying, I didn't realise how much you'd helped me until I started to look back. And now I've found something in me that I'd forgotten I had. And that, that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And clearly it made him feel like that too. So and I suppose the way you do that is you use the relationship that you have with the client and just make gentle observations. And it doesn't have to be massive sentences, just a few words. And this client actually said to me, I did a reel about this yesterday, but this client actually said to me, I always know because you only need to say a couple of words and then you lift that eyebrow. He's that raised eyebrow. He said, I know then I need to think about what I've just said and do something else with it.
I love the fact that what you said about it's already there. It's already in you, and just finding yourself somewhere you got lost along the way.
Yeah, we've all got it. We've all got it because we had it when we were kids. Most of us have had that feeling of abundance and that feeling of I've got everything that I need and excitement about life, and we just lose it. But it's not that it's gone, it's there. It just needs uncovering a little bit. And all those societal pressures and all the conditioning that we have just needs exploding somewhere.
It's fun because I think of, for me, it's thinking, who was I at 16? What did she want? And it's like, go get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's finding that. It's that even if it's not going out and getting what she wanted at 16, it's finding that excitement for something, isn't it? That was there.
Just to that point. Yeah. It's just that determination. that
Yeah,
this is the goals and this is the dreams. This is what I want. So yes, I'm going to work for it because, I don't have the naivety of the 16-year-old,
yeah,
but I have that experience now to take with me.
yeah. And it's remembering that that was determination and not stubbornness, because I can remember being told that I'm really stubborn and that I wouldn't let things drop. And it was once I remembered that actually that's not stubbornness, that's determination, then things start to come back a little bit, I think.
How much percent of your clients do you say are women?
I've been looking at this recently, and actually it's about half and half at the moment. In my page, in my employment, in my private work, they're all women.
Yeah. And it's interesting because women do talk differently, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yes, it's a different way of working, I think. And it's interesting that actually thinking about it, there's some male clients I can be really direct with, and they've actually said to me, "I like it when you direct like that." But women are not always open to that kind of directness, because I think that's a bit more masculine energy, isn't it? That kind of, yeah, really forward and absolutely spelling it out to the letter. But we just need a little bit of, we need to feel heard for a start off. And I think we forget that actually a lot of times, because of the way our society is set up, men are heard. And I think they forget that too. And sometimes what they need is to shut up and listen.
And that's actually one of the reasons that I wanted to finally take that step forth and start this whole podcast is we have so many voices and we need to be heard.
We do, absolutely, yeah. It's time.
Yeah. And share our stories because we live some interesting lives and we need to, know that we're not alone. There's others out there who are like us, who have been through something like us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I love working with women who are towards perimenopausal age and getting towards postmenopausal age, because getting into that, well, crone energy, the sort of older woman energy, we've got so much to share, and yet somehow we get lost and forgotten about and pushed away. And oh, she's just an old lady. Well, we might be just old ladies, but actually, we've got massive life experience and knowledge that we can share with people and change lots of things.
And there goes the word abundance again.
Yeah,
Abundance of experience, life experience.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Well, hello, I'm Sylvia Torstein. What is health, wealth, and happiness? Wealth. The opportunity to live in different places, anywhere around the world, for months, weeks, days at a time, even years, but that's too long. You want to just enjoy them here and there because you got the whole world. You've got this whole big planet to go to different places to. So you got to figure out how to do it, make friends, save your coins. Sometimes, yeah, skip a meal, or you have someone get you a meal. But you figure out your finances, and you do the smart things. You don't throw it all away. You do it so you can have the lifestyle and travel and enjoy and meet new friends and have more meals. That's wealth. That's wealth. And I'm Sylvia saying, enjoy it. Enjoy your life.
Jan's word for happiness is freedom. Tell us about freedom and happiness together.
I spent quite a lot of my life feeling caged in and feeling as if I had to fit in, that I had to say what I was supposed to say and do what I was supposed to do, and feeling unhappy and frustrated and as if I was constantly fighting. So for me, freedom is about knowing that I don't have to fit in, that I can just be me, and that I can be loud. I got called loud all the time when I was a child. And now I am loud. I swear a lot. I am a total potty. In fact, I've done so well. Not sworn once, because I'm a total potty mouth. And that's okay. And that's for me, that's freedom. It's about being able to express myself and use the words I want to use, not worry about other people's opinions of that. Not that I'm set out to hurt people or upset people or anything like that, but just that to know that I can just be me, I guess. It's the freedom to be me, I think, is the biggest thing, but also the freedom to know that I can organise my time how I want to organise my time. I don't have to fit into the 9 to 5 schedule. I don't work 9 to 5 in my job. So I'm not going to work 9 to 5 in my business either.
Well, it's interesting you're talking about even the way that you speak, because you think from starting from school age, don't speak out of turn.
Uh-huh.
You have an idea, okay, that's good, but let's get back to what we're focusing on. And then you get into the work world, and then it's like, now's not the time. You have an idea, but okay, it's not the time. We need to focus here again. So it's
Yeah.
always being shut down, shut down, shut down. So when you have that opportunity to become an entrepreneur, run your own business, that's fantastic, because not only are you letting your voice be heard, just like you said, you're letting your schedule be, this is me. If I want to sleep in tonight, I'm sleeping in. If I want to wake up early today, I'm waking up early. It's
Yeah.
your freedom.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that I was thinking about is the number of times that we say to our children, and I think I made a conscious effort. I can remember doing it with my older ones, but our youngest is there's 16 years between the eldest and the youngest, and then 9 years between the third and the youngest. For years, I'd listened to parents saying, "Don't interrupt me because the adults are talking now," and that's such a sad thing to hear. Really, I know that now that's just children have some amazing ideas, and let's hear them. And we get shut down from so young, don't we? That you know, don't speak to me now because I'm talking to your dad, or I'm talking to your nana, or talking to Joe from next door, or whatever. But the two adults are talking now. There's not time for children. Children should be seen and not heard, and all that stuff, which is rubbish.
Yeah, it's true. It's the adults that kind of crush some of that freedom in children, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's sad, and it's the saddest thing about it is that's because that's what happened to them. And it's intergenerational. It's come down through the centuries, and I think it's time to stop.
I have a homeschooler, and he has ideas constantly. We'll be doing his schoolwork, and suddenly there comes an idea, and we stop. I listen, and it can be anything. It can be, I was thinking, when is the solar eclipse happening? And we talk about that for a moment, and then, oh, I met this friend, and on his VR and his gaming system, and then so I'm like, okay, now let's get back to the work. But, give him that chance to express himself, because of what you said, even being conscious with your own children is giving that to them. It's a gift, and a gift in their own happiness.
Absolutely, yeah. And that idea might actually be the next. I mean, it might be the next Elon Musk. Might come up with the next fantastic idea, or the
Absolutely.
next Tesla, or the next iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Children's imaginations are amazing.
So did you find a time when you actually started to turn towards that freedom, when you started to turn towards uh, listening to your own voice out loud and saying, you know what, I'm done? Was there a moment that just kind of sparked?
I'm not sure that there was a moment or whether there was a series of moments. And I'm not done yet. I'm not the finished article yet. I'm not sure that we ever are really, but there are times still when I silence myself. But I think if I think back, my dad died 2 years ago, and there were a couple of points around that time that I felt as if I was being shut down at work. I was I'd had a hysterectomy a few years before, so my hormones were all over the place as well. And there was a lot of stuff coming at me about numbers and my numbers not being good enough in terms of, because our clients fill out questionnaires each time, and they supposed to measure the symptomology, but it's really hard for a client to know that that's what it's measuring, and they're telling me how distressed they are, basically, and that's what I'm seeing. This person's just telling me how distressed they are, and there was all that sort of stuff going on. My dad died. My mum was also in hospital, and my husband was waiting for heart surgery, all at the same time. And I remember having a series of meetings with my manager that now when I look back, I think he bullied me, and now I probably wouldn't allow that, but well, I don't. And I remember swearing at him and then thought, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And I ended up off sick anyway. I was off sick for about 5 months, partly because my dad had died and my husband had heart surgery and he needed looking after. And when I went back, things changed, and I think I changed quite a lot through that. And I'm still changing as well. But I think that was, it definitely wasn't just one moment. There was a series of moments around that time, I think, that made me sort of sit back and go, yeah, this is not happening again. You do need to find your voice now and just stand your ground. Yeah. And I am quite, I mean, I was told I was stubborn when I was a kid, and I probably am quite stubborn, but yeah, I definitely didn't deserve what was happening at that time.
Now that you're learning to find that voice, and it's a ongoing piece for you, an ongoing journey, how do you help others in learning to find their voice?
Well, sharing my journey helps, because people can see that I am not just, it's not just that I've read books about what's happening, I've also lived it. And I often think that that helps more than anything else. And I think seeing people's strengths and being almost like being a mirror to people's strengths. So when somebody comes at a client, sort of picking them up on the language that they use and saying, have you noticed that you say this about yourself quite a lot? That eyebrow again as well. But yeah, saying things like that. So picking people up and saying, you've said that again. You've said that quite a lot, and probably said that an awful lot in this session. What else? How can we change that? But I think, do you know what? I think modelling sometimes is one of the strongest ways of helping other people change, and just being there for people. And I've noticed with people around, not just clients, but with people around me, when they are being quite negative and saying a lot of things about, particularly the way I think the world is at the moment, just not getting into that, not getting into that conversation with them, I think. Not closing the conversation down, but just not kind of getting into that. Sometimes closing the conversation down, because sometimes it needs to be, but just not getting into that with them can help as well, actually, or actually offering a different perspective as well. Well, have you thought about this? This is how I think about it. What do you think about that?
And finding a little bit of happiness in things that you can control versus things that you cannot control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, there's no point getting hot under the collar about anything that you can't control, is there really? Because you can't change it. I think I remember that when I was doing my training, somebody once said to me, well, you're only going to be talking to her about her mother anyway, so what do you need a fancy room for, or whatever? I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was definitely, you're only going to be talking to them about their mother anyway and about the past. And I've had that said to me a few times about therapy, that we only talk about the past, and I've said, no, actually, I don't only talk about the past, because that's where stuck comes from. You have to talk about now, because that's where we can unstick, and then we can find that happiness and that freedom. You can't find it in the past because that's gone.
If you had to give one piece of advice for someone in the pursuit of their own happiness and finding their freedom in their own happiness, what piece of advice would you give?
I think it would probably be, one of the things that I often say to clients is have something in your mind so that when you feel as if things are getting stuck and you can feel yourself going round and round like a record that's got stuck, visualize something in front of you. And that could be it could be something that makes you stop, like a stop sign or a red traffic light, or it could be something absolutely amazing like an angel, but something that visualize something in front of you, or think of a word, a pattern interrupter. I found myself getting stuck in all that kind of thing that pulled me down and made me feel not happy a little while ago. And the thing that stopped me was Nellie the Elephant, the song Nellie the Elephant. And I said that to a client, and he came back the following week and said, I've been singing Nellie the Elephant today myself, and it works. So it's that, that would be my advice. Find something like that you know is going to stop you in that split second, and then try something else. Put the radio on and dance to Shakira.
Okay, Jan, you have the opportunity to give the gift of health, wealth, or happiness. Which one would you give and why?
Because my health word was balance, I think I would go for health, because I think if you've got balance, if you've got that balance, then you will find wealth and happiness. Or that it will come. Because I think, if you're able to balance your whole life in terms of your mental health and your physical health, then everything else just kind of comes.
And now we have a question from our previous guest.
How do you think we can encourage our youth the value of life?
I think to share life with them, to be more open with them, because I think we can become quite closed off as adults, I think, and not share everything with them about what's happening to us. And then I think sometimes they can get quite anxious about that because they'll see that something's not quite right. And so sharing your life with them, sharing as age appropriately, obviously, but sharing with them, I think, everything. I'm just thinking about all the sort of things that you would share with them though. I think share with them about what's happened in your life, your journey, how you've made things better, your struggles, how you got out of that. Because I think being able to see a parent's struggle, that everything's not hunky-dory all the time, is a really valuable lesson, to be honest. And it helps them to know that you don't have to be fabulous all the time.
So, Jan, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on this interview to inspire, because I think you're a very inspirational woman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for inviting me too.